Hello, everyone, and welcome back. My name is Brittany. I'm going to do philosophy through pop culture. This is the Puff Daddy series that recently came out on Netflix. It is 4 parts, and this is part 2. Let's see what we can learn.
Rich Harlem cat who just want to dance and make money, but every time I turn around, it's violence.
So this is the cousin of Tupac, William Lassane, and he said, when he looks at Diddy, they're celebrating Diddy's birthday. It's 1994. He looks like a nice guy. There doesn't seem to be violence, but yet violence follows Diddy.
Puff wanted to work with Pac on a lot of levels, business-wise. Puff was very threatened by Pac.
Interesting. So it's 1994. Tupac is interested in Biggie. Puff is interested in Tupac for business. They're basically painting a picture that says Diddy was jealous, possessive of Biggie, and Tupac was interested in Biggie but didn't like Puff. So basically they're creating this sort of like love triangle that isn't a love triangle, right? It's, I don't know what it is, a business triangle, or maybe Tupac had an inkling that Puffy wasn't that good, or maybe he had an inkling that out of all the guys, like there was something about Diddy specifically that just made him so threatening to other people. It's just interesting, I guess, when you're, looking back on it. Hindsight really is 2020. A lot of us think like, oh, if we were there, we would know, we could tell, but it's really hard. I mean, just look at our family dynamics, look at the people you sit together with at the barbecue, look at the guys you've dated, look at the people in your friend group. It's really hard to call predators out. It's really hard to hold people accountable if you're not ready for the fight every time it happens. And most of us just want to make the peace. And so it is really difficult to be a curse breaker, to be, to take that generational trauma and to not let it go on to the next generation. So it's interesting that now in hindsight, everyone can look back and say oh, it's so obvious now, because for so long, all of us were like, who killed Tupac? And not that we have definitive evidence, well, depending on what you call evidence, I suppose. Now they're creating this story where now in 2025, we would say Diddy made it happen. But that wasn't the case before, not in mainstream media at least. So it's kind of interesting being around right now. I don't know. It's just interesting thinking about how much we are living history, all of us at every moment.
Out of the blue, they wanted me to do the song. So I said, all right, stopped off to get some weed. Somebody screamed from the upper top of the studio, and it's Little Caesar.
And when I was about to walk out, 2 dudes came from both sides. Get the fuck back in the elevator. Shit.
Recording artist Tupac Shakur was shot 5 times last night in a robbery attempt.
Basically, the guys are going to record. Everyone's being rushed. It's a little confusing. Everyone, the guys who are involved just think it's no big deal, and all of a sudden Tupac's being shot. But it says after surgery, his condition was upgraded to satisfactory. So I didn't know Tupac got shot multiple times. I thought it was just the once and he died. So I guess he got shot and then he got shot again.
I think they're trying to rub me out, really. Robbers don't leave behind $80,000 Rolexes. You know what I mean? They don't do that.
Pac has been shot in New York under your watch.
Question would be, who knew that he was pulling up?
And just please take note that all of this is men. This is why men say the biggest threat to them is another man. But this is also patriarchy at play. Patriarchy creates a situation in which men only reinforce their dominance by violence. And this is why we say deconstruct patriarchy, because it will save men's lives. Men are killing each other so they could feel good about themselves. Just process that information.
Tupac being robbed, that's just a fact.
Puff is in this position where he has all this turmoil, but he's not at the point where he's saying where I went wrong.
Yeah, so he's saying he's saying that Puff never reflected, introspected. He never thought to himself, where did I go wrong? He always just thought to himself, how do I get out of this? And that's the difference between introspection and doubling down on a bad idea or a bad belief system. Is you're not questioning yourself. You're not asking yourself, how did I get here? And not as a way to blame, but as a way to inquire. So again, we don't want to victim blame. Not that Diddy's a victim, but you don't want to, when you're holding yourself accountable, you also want to just be a matter of fact as well, and then understand how you got there. It's to give yourself a chance to move forward. I think sometimes people, not Diddy, but people who have done wrong things, they can't seek accountability or rehabilitation because they don't even know how to ask themselves without judgment, how did I get here? Why did I do that thing? Because the judgment is so obvious, so the shame follows, right? And if you're drowning in shame, it paralyzes you. And so you want to be able to get past the shame, ask yourself what I did wrong, hold yourself accountable, and move forward. Now, the problem with a Diddy as an example, is that you remember when he made that apology about hitting Cassie, about beating Cassie? He was saying things like, I'm going to get right with God. I'm talking to God, you know, da, 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 da. Your life can't look the same after accountability with something like this. Like, your life must change because you've changed. People forget this. Your life has to look different. You should be able to be so different that if somebody saw you from the past, they'd be like, oh my God, I don't even recognize you anymore. Thank you. I should be unrecognizable to you. Philosophically unrecognizable, you know?
My little lab right here, you know, where I cut my deals and all that. Got my little headset.
So I get up and I go in with my papers and go. A girl is giving him a blowjob at the desk.
Very professional Diddy.
He wanted me to see that. He wanted me to see her face.
No consent.
But to get her to do that right then and there in the office. What did you want me for? I didn't want you for anything.
Power and control. A lack of consent is about power and control for people like Diddy. They love it. They love what they can make you do. They love how uncomfortable they can make you.
That was the beginning for me to see this is what's going on because it brought money in.
Money, 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 money. Always money, 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 money.
Let me just give you a day in the life of Puff Daddy. Heads to the office 2 hours late. You might have somebody pulling him over saying, hey, ain't you in that video? Ain't that you? Had the big baseball bat cell phones. And the phone might ring. Such and such is on the phone calling from jail. You might have a group standing in front of the office just to get their shot at Puffy.
So basically they're telling us a story about Puffy and trying to get us to imagine what it was like then. It must have been crazy. I mean, this is celebrity before social media. When he says, oh, an album went platinum, these are albums being sold, right? This isn't streams on Spotify. This is pre-internet, pre-YouTube, pre the way we think about the industry now. I mean, this is like fame in a way that will never probably happen or feel the same again, because like this must have felt so like climbing Mount Everest, right? And if you don't check your ego, if you don't clock in that humility, like, no wonder Diddy became Diddy. And it's not, you know, it's still Diddy's responsibility, but no wonder money can make people crazy at this time. Like, he is, you know, just imagine being the guy, especially growing up with his background, and, you know, the guy. That, I mean, it is a big deal. Separate from Diddy's crimes, just realistically, like, wow. But then here's the problem. That wow that makes you realize what he did, how he made these artists go platinum, how he, you know, picked them out. He could see the talent. He could understand a number one hit. It just makes you wonder if it's worth it. The conversation we often have in my community is this great art that was made worth it if it came at the expense of all of these people? And honestly, no. I would rather the world be without all of these great hits, all of this great art, if it meant nobody would ever have to get assaulted, if it meant didn't have to come at the expense of people, if it meant people didn't have to be killed because of ego. If art is that good, it shouldn't have to come at the expense of people's lives. And if it does, that's just a reflection of us as a whole. Like, humanity isn't as good as we think we are. We're not as evil as we think we are, because like we're all participants, but we're not as good as we think we are. And again, I don't want you to sit here and watch my content and think like, oh, I'm better than other people. It's not about being better than other people. It's about acknowledging that human beings are very flawed, and it's all of us. All of us are flawed. It's just on a spectrum. So we might not all be Diddy's, but Diddy didn't just fall out of a coconut tree.
You're going to take all of this power and money you're getting now and play by the rules? No, I'm the rule now.
Yeah, see, he said, what, you're going to get this famous and play by the rules? I am the rule. That's what Diddy think. Diddy and all these kings of the past, I am the guy. Trump, look at Trump. Trump goes, what rules? What checks and balances? And you know what's so funny? If you take it into the political bubble, we'll often hear from people, specifically what I like to call like liberals, or like, you know, they're not progressives as much as they say they are. And they'll say like, this is why the conservatives are so successful politically. They're willing to do whatever it takes. That's kind of the point though. That willingness to do whatever it takes is the corruption. That's the corruption. And so the idea that anyone is trying to, you know, do whatever it takes and claim they're progressive is the point. Like, doing whatever it takes means coming at the expense of yourself and your community. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. And that's why they guilt you under capitalism, especially like, do you have what it takes? Are you willing to do whatever it takes? Are you willing to sacrifice your time with your family? Are you willing to sacrifice your time with your partner? Are you willing to go against your values? If you really want it, are you hungry enough? Nobody should be that hungry.
Sean walks in. He had a baseball bat. He said, there's a business deal I need to take care of. People always say to me, why would you do that? I wanted to stay in good graces. I still wanted to be at the company.
Wow. So he just told this whole story about how he had 25% of the company. Remember, his Combs, his mother, had 75%. The co-founder had 25%. And he said Sean walks in with a big baseball bat and a suitcase, and he wants the stocks back. He goes, give them to me. I need to make a deal, but I'll pay you back. Then fast forward in 2003, Kirk Burroughs sued Sean Combs, claiming breach of contract, fraud, and other issues related to his former stake in Bad Boy. The case was later dismissed after the court found the claims were filed too late, and questions over who originally owned Bad Boy Entertainment still remain. Damn. So even though at the very beginning of the story, we knew Bad Boy was established with 75% to Combs' mom and 25% to Kirk, because Sean didn't want to pay out to the victims of the tragedy that happened where 9 people died. Okay. So now fast forward. So does that mean he didn't get any of the money for working and bringing up Bad Boy? Does that mean he didn't get anything? I'm so confused.
I want to congratulate Craig Mack on his Grammy nomination.
Yo, you got nominated for a Grammy, but we had no money.
So this is Craig Mack. He's one of the guys that Puffy brought up and was like really successful. So Biggie, him. Okay. This is his ex-wife talking, and she's saying it's weird. He's up for a Grammy, but we don't have any money. So it's interesting too, because that actually happens even now, where people will be up for rewards. Aren't you that guy in that movie? But they don't have any money. Just because you're famous doesn't mean you're rich. Again, just because you're famous doesn't mean you're rich.
Sean's trick was, I'm gonna make you a star, so you sign your deal, we gave you your advance. At Uptown, that's the only money the artists have ever seen, that first advance. Andre had to wait, they never saw anything else. Diddy picked that up. He made it even tighter. It's a shell game. You hide everything that is an earning, you confuse the earnings.
You're in the studio, now you have to recoup for being in the studio. Puff owns the studio, and I have 4 sessions which you owe me $400,000. Puff records a song with his artist. He pays himself.
Interesting. They're telling a story about how basically Diddy kind of ran the business that in a way that like it doesn't pay the artist. So the artists get like some sort of a, upfront cost, but they never see a follow through. So even though they're number one, even though they're up for Grammys, even though Puff is getting rich, they're not getting rich. And so, he inserts himself in the videos. He becomes like a main character. This is interesting. He really was like self-focused as much as possible. Like as much as he was using the artists to make himself an artist, more or less. Does that kind of make sense? Like he wasn't the talent, but the talent made him feel like a talent because he was good at marketing. Interesting. That is interesting. I wonder where these artists would have been had they never had Diddy. And that's the question, I guess, in a different place, right? But
I think Sean had an envy for his own artists. He was jealous of their talent and wondered like...
Exactly. He was jealous of their talent.
His talent is wasted on people who don't even really know what to do.
Exactly. That's the thing that I think is interesting. That's why talent hires management companies and hires a person like a Diddy, because they have the talent, but they don't have the marketing skills. The dilemma is like, I think Diddy wished he had the talent.
That's interesting because a lot of people Puffy's age want to grab this mic and rap, but Puffy, you want to do other things, and you're doing a lot of them.
Talk about his skills as a rapper.
Sucks.
I always thought Diddy sucked. I was always so confused why Diddy was in videos. Like every time I saw Diddy, I'm like he obviously wasn't a good artist. That's why I was always so confused by him. I feel validated.
Yeah, what about the Puff Daddy solo project?
Yeah, you don't like to talk about
Hey,
that.
Puffy, you know what goes to the
Sean used other methods and ways to get to where he had to go.
That whole Bad Boy was built on him.
Yeah, that's so interesting. I do find this so interesting. I don't know if you guys have a special interest in marketing or something. I do, and I just think it's so interesting how you can have a brain for it. But the envy, like they said, he was envious of the other artists, which is funny because in contrast, they said Tupac, you've never seen somebody so happy for somebody else. So Tupac was so happy for Biggie's success, and like Sean, who envied the success because he couldn't have it without these artists. He's just so stereotypically that specific trope of like bad guy that can't do it himself. So he has to surround himself with actual talent and then take the credit for it.
You cannot take that from him. I think that Puffy wanted the light like he always wanted.
Exactly. You can't take his successes from him in terms of his ability to like do what he did with these artists. But at the same time, he wants the credit for all of it and not just some of it. He had no humility.
335-pound Suge Knight has managed to become the head of a $100 million record company.
But he didn't want to be in that limelight like Puff.
You know what's so interesting? And I don't know if you feel this way when you watch like documentaries, but this is what I mean when I'm saying like living history. Like we don't realize it because, you might be a nobody, or you might not be famous, or you might not be thinking about your life this way, but you are these people in your own life, but just not the way you think. Because again, we're not famous and we don't have this life. I think that's what's so interesting about new famous people compared to old famous people too. New famous people like TikTok stars and stuff, I don't think they understand like longevity. They say an average influencer's life is 7 years. And yeah, like for a lot of these people, they had one-hit wonders and they disappeared. But for some people, it's like a long-term goal. And then for some people, they naturally, die off or whatever. But at the end of the day, it's not you that remains, like you current day, it's your legacy. And I think a lot of these men are seeking legacy at the expense of, which is the problem. Like Diddy did, obviously, which is so interesting because now the question is his legacy tainted, or did it just add to the pimp aesthetic, right? That the first episode was talking about, like his desire to be sort of like his father, or the way he perceived his father, right? Does this allegation, does it him going to prison for what he's in prison for, is that adding to his credibility in a way? Or is this ruining it? I can't tell.
He's a street dude. He's a real street dude. But Suge knew talent and he knew business.
They took me on tour and I learned how every person who's writing songs is getting beat out their money.
So is he going to come in and promise artists like money in the way that Diddy couldn't provide? I know who Knight is from recent news, like 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago. There was news of him in a car accident or something, right? Like, but I don't really know much of this history. Interesting.
He was able to dovetail that into, he started Death Row Records.
Oh, and here comes Snoop and Dr. Dre. I think that's why in many ways the American dream is like, do it. You can be anybody and you can make it. And that's why we love this shit. I heard about this when I learned about a little bit about Jamie Foxx, that Jamie Foxx was like at every party, was always connecting, was always networking. And then look at Snoop Dogg now, right? Playing with this administration and playing friendly with them. It's so weird. It's so weird how money really does something to people. Fame really does something to people.
Before Bad Boy, Death Row was the most successful label in the business, and that was my job. How do I make Bad Boy equal the success of Death Row?
Me and him were friends. Wow.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, he would pick me up from the airport. I was just networking with the brother,
Look at that, 2016.
I really had thought we were cool.
He was getting in the business, I was in the business.
Okay, so he came first. Okay, I'm putting together this timeline. He came first, then Diddy.
Death Row.
Is the label that pays, man.
The two hottest labels. I would look over at Death Row and say, they're taking care of their artists better than we are.
Ooh, okay, but they were taking care of their artists better, noted.
It's about me and my people.
It's funny because Diddy put on that event, the Stampede event. He put it on saying he cares about his people, but yet he won't pay his artists. He won't take care of those people who got stampeded. And yet here comes Knight saying, oh yeah, like I'll take care of my people. They are paying their artists better.
You got that? Well, man, who's banging on the door like that? When I was, dog, what is the deal, man? Keep the door closed.
And it escalated with words from the podium at the awards show.
Any artists out there want to be an artist and want to stay a star, don't want to have to worry about the executive producer trying to be all in the videos.
Oh, he made fun of Diddy being in the videos.
All on the record, dancing.
Oh.
Death Row.
He showed up at the awards and he said, if you want to be taken care of, I'll take care of you. Oh, self-awareness. He says, I am that producer.
Check this out. Contrary to what other people may feel, I would like to say that I'm very proud of Dr. Dre, of Death Row, and Suge Knight for their accomplishments. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, I'm a positive black man and I make music. Relax, buddy.
Positive black man, and I make music to bring us together, not
to separate us? But is that true though? Even though he tells himself that story, his work says otherwise.
So give it up to everybody from the East and the West that won tonight.
And then there's a side of him that's all out dark. He processes things differently. He remembers every slight.
He said Diddy remembers every single slight. This reminds me of Trump recently after Erica Kirk went up and talked about forgiving Charlie Kirk's shooter. He said, you're better than me. I never forgive anyone. And then when Rob Reiner just died with his wife, Michelle, stabbed to death by their son, he said the most disgusting things about him. It's like he can't forget that people slighted him or something. That's what I'm saying. Like, you got to let go of your grudges. You got to let go of hating and being mad at the world because you don't want to turn into Diddy. And you are not the exception. You do not get to decide that you're the exception and you're allowed to hold grudges, or you're the exception and you can hate people, but it's not going to make you a bigot. Like, you don't get to decide that. And that's why here we talk about philosophy, because what I've learned in my life is that I am not the exception. that, oh, if I hate people, I know who to hate. Or, oh, if I keep a grudge, well, I know how to keep a grudge and not make it ruin my relationship with my joy. No, you are not the exception. Now, you can't also cope and pretend you've let go of these things. It actually has to be released from your consciousness. Like, you have to release yourself of the burden. You have to like actually not hate people in the sense that like you never want to see something bad happen to them. And that's why I say I wish no evil on anyone. I have no enemies. Like, truly, like, it does not make me happy to see bad things happen to people. Now, I might feel indifferent to it, or I might feel like that's a bummer, but like, I don't, I'm not happy about it. I'm just like, what are you going to do? So again, there's like this idea that we really think we're the exception. Like the meme. Well, if I was a dictator, maybe I'd be a good one. It's like, no, you'll still be a dictator. So this says Atlanta, Georgia, 7 weeks after the Source Awards. So that was just the Source Awards.
Every Friday we had a bad boy party. So Puff was there. Suge Knight came that night with his friend Jake.
Sean wanted me to take $50,000 out of the overhead account so he could buy her a diamond necklace, wooing her.
Oh, cringe. Okay, so Suge Knight has a girl he's seeing, and Diddy asks him, Kirk, co-founder, to take out $50K of the overhead to pay for a diamond necklace for this girl to woo her. Diddy is such a loser. Oh my God, he's so embarrassing. He's so embarrassing. He's kind of like an incel, but not an incel. Do you know what I mean? He's kind of he's kind of embarrassing. He's kind of like a loser. Like, he's kind of lame. Oh, that's interesting. He really is just a sad boy who's trying to feel validated. Girl, sad.
Suge and Jake is being escorted out. Jake comes out, Suge come out, Puff come out. Everybody's outside. A man appeared. He touched Jake with the pistol, and he looked at Suge like this and was shooting Suge's friend like this. Suge grabbed a hold to Puffy in a chokehold and put him in the front of him like this. So he was moving Puff around like this. In case you shoot him, you're gonna shoot Puffy. You're not gonna shoot me. Puff was like, it's gonna be all right, man. It's gonna be all right.
Yo, men are scary, bro. Men are scary. Y'all have too much time on your hands. You are so bored. So basically, the guys are all at a club. The guys get pulled out onto the street. Shooter shows up, looks at Knight, and then he starts shooting his friend 5 times. Knight grabs Puffy, puts him in a chokehold, and uses him as a human shield. This is all displays of power and stuff. You are irresponsible with weapons. Men are literally at fault for so much violence. This like whole conversation about women do violence too, sure bros, but it's nowhere comparable. And a lot of these women are doing violence for self-defense or otherwise. Men are doing it to like peacock. Let's be so for real. And so it's about power. It's about control and dominance. It's gross. It's disgusting. Men as a system are the issue. It is a problem to raise little boys to think this is what being a man is. And it comes from all of society. It's not just their parents. It really is the world. It really is media. It's this.
Ambulance came and took Jake to the hospital. A couple of days later, he died.
Damn, and his friend died. Right there. Imagine you're hanging out with your friend, you're at a party, you're with all these famous people, and some guy shows up and just shoots your friend dead. What are we talking about?
That's what started the East Coast, West Coast war.
No way, really? That's what really started the East Coast, West Coast war? For real? Oh my gosh, I feel like I'm learning so much.
Tupac Shakur, out of the hospital after surgery from bullet wounds, is convicted on sex charges.
Okay, so now we've got the Tupac out of hospital for the first shooting. Now he's convicted on sex charges. And this is that really horrific story where he's seeing a girl. I don't know how much detail they're going to go into. He's seeing a girl. She really likes Tupac. He really likes her. One night they're at a place together and they're in her bedroom together, kind of having a private moment. Guys walk in, his friends walk in, eyeing her, wanting her, and Tupac abandons her at that house and leaves her because he doesn't want to deal with his friends, and they gang rape her. So Tupac knew what was going to happen, basically.
Why would you make something like that up? Because hell have no fury like a woman's scorn.
If you could go back to the night when the sexual abuse occurred, is there anything that you would do differently?
Yeah.
What?
I would not have closed my eyes until she was out of the room, until everybody was out of the room.
So when you left the room and left her with those people...
I didn't leave her with those people. I didn't bring her to those people.
She came over herself?
Right, she came over, knew those people, knew everything. I just didn't drag her out of there. But I'm guilty of not being a smart man, not being a good-hearted man, I guess, or whatever, being more considerate.
At any point were you aware that she was involved in something she didn't want to...
Excuse me. Well, I can listen to stuff that you left out. I'm sorry.
I think in another life, if he had just told her to come with him and left, it would have, she would have gone, obviously. But I think he didn't want to have to fight his friends because his friends, I think the way the story goes is like they had like real like hunger and lust in their eyes for this girl. And that's why we say, like, you are complicit in rape culture. You are complicit in the assault because you knew what was going to happen and you knew she didn't even want it. And that was the thing. That's the thing. So let's see if he talks about it in this documentary. Let's see if they bring up the details. Let's see. Because that's, you know, an interview Tupac did. It's not under debate that he was complicit in some activity. Even if he doesn't say that was his intention, it doesn't matter. You did nothing to stop it.
A New York jury convicted the rapper of first-degree sexual abuse, but acquitted him of more serious charges.
Pac and Big were friends at one time, but then once Pac was in jail, all of his associations were nemesis.
They bragging, they telling they in jail. Yo, we just got Pac.
Uh-oh. They're bragging, we just got Pac. See, no trust. I mean, no trust amongst men, right? Like, we make a lot of jokes about how men don't talk to each other about their feelings or don't get intimate or there's no loyalty. And men will always talk about how women aren't loyal. What is this? What is this? You know what I mean? And obviously values over loyalty too. Because, like, how am I supposed to be loyal to a bad person?
Pac needed someone strong that was going to stand with him. It had just so happened that Suge had his own issue with Puffy.
Okay, so Suge and Tupac become friends and they work together.
We coming to the East Coast to prove there is no fear. Overthrow the government y'all got right now, which is bad boy and all that bullshit.
Don't feed into it. If you feed into it, it's gonna do nothing but escalate. You know what I'm saying?
Biggie never wanted to be an enemy to Pac.
Deuce and All Eyes on Me. He called us and said, I just fucked Faith Evans. Biggs, why?
Men are gross. Men are so disgusting. Ugh.
He's like, what? I fucked your wife.
See, Tupac's a piece of shit. All of these men are gross. Fucking other people's wives to get back at men. Fucking all this is all stupid. Okay, and I know people are saying, well, what about the women, Brittany? They have their own demons to fight, you know what I'm saying? And that's patriarchy. But these men are the leaders, right? This is what your leaders are doing. Men are gross.
Biggie stole my husband legally. I am having his baby. No, I'm not.
Sean kept putting pressure on Biggie. You gotta answer back.
Tupac had me pissed off, you know what I'm saying? And the rumors that's spreading is on some tip like we set him up, you know what I'm saying? And that's crazy.
The East Coast, West Coast thing was invented, period. Because no matter what, we all went to the East, they came here, went to the West.
The whole, like, they're talking about East versus West and the feuds. Like, guys, adulthood is high school with money. Look at these kids. Look at these men talking about, I fucked your wife. Oh, you disrespected me. I have to clap back. This is the whole, like, this. You would see it in administration. You see it in politics all the time, right? You can see the feuds. You can see the thing. That's why I say, like, the world is so philosophically devoid of wisdom and humility, and it's a show for all of us. And listen, these, you know, the raps are fun, we all love that shit, but ultimately there's, like, no wisdom in it. And again, it goes back to this question, like, can good art be made by healthy minds? I do think so, but it's not the art that is this art. And it's not, when I say this art, I don't mean rap, I don't mean hip hop, I don't mean that. I mean the art that requires that it comes at the expense of people. You know, does you know, good art have to come at the expense of people? I don't think so. Or what about the expense of the planet or the expense of, you know, I don't think so. But I think when you're trying to go for wow and big and you're trying to do these things, I just think it has to. It's like that artist, my Discord and I were just talking about this artist who killed all these animals in order to make art out of their bodies. Like, are we for real right now? What a ridiculous way to spend your time as an artist. But the sensationalism of it is what people want to see.
People in danger because it made people be like, F you, and people start doing stuff for no reason because there's
exactly.
There's, you know, it's just people that want to ride for each other.
We go by Mansfield Gangster Crips now.
Gang scene. Groups who call themselves Crips and wear blue colors.
Men.
Bloods who wear red.
Sean Combs was a friend. Christopher Wallace was a friend. You got beef with them, you got beef with me.
Ugh, men are so lame. Oh my gosh, y'all are so lame. I see this in YouTube. I was thinking about it when, you remember when, you know, there's like a falling out in the YouTube community and they're like, I can't believe you said that about me. I can't believe this, that. I helped you, da-da-da-da. This is the mentality of like, I can't believe you made a video. I can't believe this. Oh, I'm not friends with so-and-so because they have beef and this has beef and this has this. And this is why I say like, group activities, not my favorite. I do not like group activities. This is group activity. I don't like it.
Crips, any other gang faction to do security for us would be extremely unintelligent.
So, you know, Diddy's being interviewed and asked, like, did you hire the Crips to protect you? And he said, no, that'd be silly. But the former members are saying, like, we were friends with them. So we weren't hired security. We were just friends looking out for our friends. Okay, got it.
Eric Von Zip is a drug lord from Harlem, but Sean told me he was his uncle.
Oh.
Might have known Janice on the fringe. He might have known Sean's father from those days.
He had a relationship with the Southside Crips, and then he also had a relationship with us.
Sean said Zip can give us protection going back and forth.
Oh, I'm exhausted. This bubble is so exhausting to me. Men in their little gangs, whether they're police officers or not, uniform, aesthetic. These are our colors. These are our clothes. These are our thing. I'm exhausted. Men are so exhausting.
LA because he was in with the Crips, and we had a beef with Suge Knight and the Bloods.
Knight dresses in all red, the colors of the drug-dealing Blood street gang.
One of the death row
1986.
people got jumped by someone at a mall. And that someone was from Southside Crips, one of the Crips. Tried to take a death row chain. I think that was an order from Bad Boy, that was an order from Puff. The guy who was ripped off for the death row chain is with Suge and Pac, who was connected with Puff.
Okay, so basically they're explaining some boy activity. Basically, one of their guys got jumped. The guy who jumped him was at the event. He says to Pac, that's the guy. Okay, boys are so stupid. This is the most exhausting display of man behavior I've ever seen in my life. Isn't that interesting? When men's feelings get hurt, somebody has to die. And yet they rewrite this history as women being emotional and, oh, women ruin men's lives. Da, 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 da. You sure about that? The patriarchy has really convinced us that these men are just innocent victims who get picked up as a system. Men as a system are not the victims under patriarchy. Men as people are victims under patriarchy. All these people died for what, bro? Oh, and then Pac tackled the guy and the fight broke out.
That was the foundational moment when all this was getting out of control.
There it is. Tupac Shakur shot in the chest late Saturday night.
Shakur was shot in the chest late
This morning,
Saturday.
shot in the chest in a drive-by
Death Row record label owner Marion Suge Knight was also in the car, but his injuries were minor.
I mean, they're all kind of the same at the end of the day, aren't they, these guys? All of these men have their hands dirty. And I think the dirtier they are, the more street cred they got, which was the point. The whole point of this is your hands are dirty, which is funny why 50 Cent is putting together this doc series, because his hands are not clean either. That's what I'm saying. This whole idea that 50 Cent's a good guy and Diddy isn't, you're both bad people.
Police in Las Vegas say they have no motive for this latest shooting.
I think that Sean now, in my mature mind, had a lot to do with the death of Tupac.
In 2006, I was recruited to work at task force.
This is the former LAPD guy.
Tupac's murder was an unsolved case.
It ain't my job to snitch on nobody.
KFD was kind of the shot caller for the Southside Crips. He was the most prominent drug dealer. His nephew, Orlando Anderson, was a very well-known violent gang member.
So this is 2008 police interview KFD. So KFD is one of the drug guys in the area whose nephew was the guy that Tupac tackled in that hotel room, right? So we've got connections being built. And basically they're saying, if you knew something, it might help us with this federal case against you.
Emphasize to you, it's determined that some of these details are incorrect and everything's off the table.
A proffer session is when a person facing criminal charges can answer questions wherein self-incriminating information would not be used against him in a criminal prosecution. Doesn't mean they have any kind of immunity. Zip set up the introduction between Combs and KFD.
So you see how everyone's connected and everybody knows people, and one guy knows this guy and this guy knows that guy, and then boom, all of a sudden it's like, who did what? Who knows? And if no one's gonna snitch, and even if they do snitch, who's gonna believe you?
And after that, they used my car on the video.
Which car was that?
The 64 Chevy.
What color was it?
Black.
And Usher. Wow, Usher. This isn't even like what we know now about the white parties or the baby oil or Justin Bieber or whatever else. Like, this is what I'm saying. Like, if these guys are already doing this much, why is it so far-fetched to think they're doing everything else? We saw Diddy beat Cassie on that tape. That's all we need to know. There's no other questions needed to be asked now, at least not by the public. There's nothing else we need to talk about. Any man who's willing to put his hands on a woman like that, it doesn't matter. He's capable of anything else in my mind.
Terrell, Puffy, Zip, you.
About 40-something Southsiders. Yeah, that was stupid as hell, too, you know. Shit, he said he'd give us anything for them dudes there.
So basically, Puffy said, I'd do anything for the heads of Tupac and Suge.
Go home full of Crips.
In a room full of 40-plus Crips.
He tells you, seriously, man, I need to get rid of these guys. I mean, he's looking at you in the eyes and he's like scared.
Yeah.
You tell him we'll do it for $1 million, and he's like, okay.
So basically, he's saying like, he's saying that Puff was scared. He's saying Diddy was scared. And then Diddy was like, I really need to get rid of these guys. He's worried. He's worried about retaliation. Obviously, Tupac's dead. Suge's friend is dead. you know, bad things are happening, and he goes, we'll do it for $1 million. So basically, this is the video, this is the interview I'm aware of. This guy saying like, oh yeah, we killed Tupac. So we know who killed Tupac, but we don't know who killed Tupac. You know what I mean? It's like when you know something happened, but you don't know it because we weren't there. So it's like we have to believe it, you know?
I'll do it for $1 million. He agrees, shake on it or something like that.
Yeah. He just beat up Lane. And we was in a hotel, at the MGM at a restaurant. There was a few New Yorkers though, with Zip. Like, man, y'all need some help? We got this.
So basically they're saying when he heard his nephew got beat up by Tupac, it was like perfect timing because they needed an opportunity.
Perfect opportunity, baby.
That was Zip talking?
Yeah.
Because of what happened with
Yeah. Here they coming at BMW, like, can't get car.
On their way to the club, Suge is blaring his music too loud.
The traffic was stopped, and then they got in the car.
Did you see who was with Suge?
I thought it was Tupac.
Tupac! He gave himself away. Otherwise, they would have got away.
So basically, from the guy's perspective, the shooter's perspective, they almost got away that night. But then Suge and Tupac were driving with their music too loud. Cops pulled them over. Girls were like, Tupac! And then they heard that and became aware and spotted Tupac again because they had been, you know, that night, they got kind of bored waiting for them and went to go drink. And then they lost them, and then they found them again because of this incident. So they're basically building us up to, from their perspective, how it could have gone another way.
Should look over, he sees you.
So eye contact was made. Fucking known each other since we were 7 or 8 years old. Exactly my point. You can be raised with a group of boys, and one day they might just kill you. But that's not that uncommon, right? We know violence happens between people who know us. We know it's rarely strangers. It's just so interesting how women are fighting so hard for us to be aware that men in our families are trying to kill us, trying to hurt us. And these men don't even, like, you know, it's your friends. You know, it's guys you know.
I seen a bullet going Suge head. I thought he was dead.
He thought Suge was dead, but he wasn't.
If you knew who killed Tupac, would you tell the police?
Absolutely not.
Because there's no snitch culture. He said, I will not snitch. There's a I won't snitch culture. Values over loyalty, y'all. Values over loyalty.
I went and parked the car and put the gun on the tire and left. Smoke weed and drink. Yeah.
Where'd you guys go after you killed Tupac? We smoked weed and drank. Tee-hee.
I ain't ever told nobody that story.
So he says, I've never told anyone this story. He's just basically saying it was another day. No, another day, which is like so interesting. But the thing that is interesting about it too is like, yeah, for them, it is just another day. Beating up on a woman is another day. Killing a guy he knew since he was a kid is another day. And that's the point. What humans are capable of. And then the next day, they just act like everything is normal. Some of us cut people off in traffic and we feel so ashamed of it. We can't, you know, sleep for a week. These people are literally killing people. And then they're like, men, I'm telling you, it's patriarchy. I'm telling you, this is the problem with the world, is the world raises little boys to think this is what being a grown-up is. And then they run for office and become president.
Someone said, well, he was happy as hell, shit.
And did you ask him then about his money? When you can get paid or whatever?
No, I should say that on the phone. Zip, go get our cash.
Damn, Diddy also didn't pay his artists or his assassins?
But he said that a partial amount of the money was intended to be forwarded to him to the tune of about $500,000. The $1 million solicitation amount, only half of it was fulfilled because only Tupac and not Suge was killed.
Oh, he wanted both of them killed. Damn.
And DMAC says there had been a payment from Combs to Keefe D, but it had gone through Zip.
Interesting. So basically they are trying to tie the money back to Diddy.
Ultimately, Zip dies from cancer.
Damn. So the one guy who knew where the money came from died. So basically without Zip being alive to confess that Diddy did wire him the money to then give, there's nothing.
And Orlando Anderson is shot and killed in 1998.
Damn. So this is the guy Tupac jumped earlier. He's dead. Was it worth it, boys? That's what I'm saying. Is it worth it?
It's really Keefe D and Puffy Combs are the last men standing.
At the time of airing, Keefe D is set to stand trial in 2026 for the murder of Tupac Shakur. He now claims that proffer was made under duress. The proffer. So the proffer is the audio recording we've been listening to in which he can't be, quote, held accountable or like, not that he can't be held accountable, but the idea is the proffer is like he's allowed to tell the story, which, by the way, he says he's never told, without some of it being used against him, but that doesn't mean it can't be used against him. Interesting. 2026 is going to be an interesting year. Okay, this is September 10th, 2024, 6 days before Sean Combs' arrest. Look at Sean walking and the guy has to follow him and get the necklace on him and he won't stop for him. Ugh, I hate this kind of activity. I know people dream about it. People dream about having servants and having wait staff and having people just like do this. I think it's gross. I think it's just disgusting. And now it's like, oh, I don't want this third chain. Take it off me. Take it. You can't take a necklace off yourself, bro.
What goes up must come down. What goes.
All these men. Men. Notice how there's no women who are main players in this. One, they won't let them. And two, I don't even think women want to be main players in any of this garbage. Women rise to being people in this bubble construct because they think there's no other way. There's no other option. That's why this, this idea that like people are like, oh, like, I don't want to be this way. I have to be this way because this is how the world is. The world is a reflection of us as a whole. The question is, how much free will do you have to be someone different than this? And how do you react to systems? Obviously, women are trying to survive in patriarchy, as are men. But the issue is that the only people who can change the system are the people who are not only in charge of it. That's why when men say, oh, this has been the year of the feminists, like women rule, like this is obviously more centered around women. Where are the women then in all of these situations? Where are the women in government? Where are the women at the board meetings? Where are the women in these gang activities? They're secondary players, third, fourth, fifth players. They're objects, they're furniture. You're gonna blame the couch? Like, come on now. And that's what they are. These women are objects. And then they have the audacity to blame the women.
I remember 99, we were working in the studio on a song called Muscle Gang. I'm like, what is he talking about? Fuck with me, I drop $1 million on your head.
Yo! So there's a new song out. It's 2000. He says, mess with me, I'm gonna drop $1 million on your head. Gonna start making y'all disappear now. Uh-oh.
Everything that's done in the dark must come to light.
Men always tell themselves they can't help but brag. Men can't help but brag. They can't help but brag. This is March 1997.
Dawn took Biggie to Los Angeles. We had been warned to not come to LA.
So this is Soul Train Music Awards, March 7th, 1997. And apparently they were warned not to come to Cali, not to go to LA, not to be seen on the West Coast. And Diddy and Biggie go anyways.
Biggie did not want to go, but Sean talked him into doing all of those things.
Probably because he's gonna get killed. Damn.
We're like catcalling and booing.
And of course, people were just angry in general. They're booing and stuff like that.
What's up, Cali?
We were not welcome.
Yeah, they are not happy.
Biggie and I were to go to London, and we were going to have a 2-3 day press junket. We were supposed to go to the airport that morning.
So basically, they're supposed to be going to Europe to introduce Biggie to the European scene, which, interesting idea. But he's not picking up. He's not, he says, let's see, he says Puff is bugging.
Oh, Puff is bugging. He just called me and told me, I want you to stay here in LA.
And so Biggie wants out because he's starting to get nervous about being there, which is smart. He wants to leave, but Diddy's saying, no, don't leave now. Even though this was months in the making to go to Europe.
Cancel the flight. Biggie's not going to the UK. This was his MO. Ego, power, tripping.
Yeah, he's like punishing his own guys. He's like putting his own men in danger. Almost like the thrill. It's like the taboo of the consent thing. Oh, are you scared for your life? Let me show you how much I'm gonna play with it.
Scared to death. That's how real it is. I think somebody's trying to kill me. I'll be waking up paranoid. I'll be really scared.
At the end of the day, they're just scared little boys, aren't they? Not so tough when a gun is pointed your way. Same issue with military culture and cop culture and everything else. All these men love to talk about how tough they are. How tough do you feel when you have to be so scared you're looking over your shoulder every second?
Big and Puffy was with us. They were having a party.
The Crips guy, he says Puffy and Biggie were with them. They were having a party March 9th, 1987.
I spoke to Big. I was like, yo, man, what are you doing? Cats in LA, man, they get down in these circumstances, man, and you just can't be walking around here.
He basically warned him, you shouldn't be out here walking around like everything is safe,
Where's Big?
I want to get out.
Portions of the following footage have never been broadcast. Oh my God. They're looking for Big. I hear gunshots. There's footage. People are scrambling.
Somebody got shot.
Yeah, we need an ambulance on Fairfax and Wilshire. Please, Los Angeles.
Listen, sir, I can't hear what you're saying.
We're man shot in our car right now. Right now, we're trying to roll him to the hospital. Big, you hear me?
Big, you hear me? Is he responding? They're on the phone 911. It's a mess. They're trying to get him to the hospital.
I was following Big's lead on, like, we're going to do this peace talk. And, it didn't work out.
So now Diddy is reworking history. In 2017, this interview goes on, I was following Big's lead. You were the leader, stupid. All of his witnesses say you're the reason he wasn't in the UK that day. Look at the way he's rewriting history. Oh, you're so annoying.
He's lying about that.
Of course he's lying about that. What?
Lied about it. It let me know that's a weak spot for him.
Ooh.
He's nervous about that information. He ushered Biggie to his death.
He really did. He literally did. Like I said, a man who's willing to beat a woman he's supposed to be in love with, is capable of anything. I will never not believe he's capable of absolutely anything now.
All it was is a Puffy and Suge Knight war. You're messing with lives here.
This is the mother of Notorious B.I.G. This is Valletta Wallace.
2 lives were lost as a result of what?
When I said
Men.
We briefly brought up Sean Combs. It was clear to me that she had no real respect or appreciation for him.
He was a hindrance in the investigation. Witness did not want to give any information at this time.
Puffy was kind of stonewalling people from talking.
With friends like these, who needs enemies?
Biggie's moms and Faith and the children are extremely strong. Matter of fact, they've been strong for me and helping to hold me up. And I'm going to be there for them, just like he would be there for them to make sure that they're all right.
So he's pretending he's like the best friend, the family friend, but it sounds like that's all for publicity.
We're going to do the biggest funeral for Biggie that New York has ever seen.
Because for him, it's just another event. For him, it was just another publicity stunt. It really makes you want to redo, because I know this funeral. I know these photos. But you look at him different when you know the story behind it.
To put that together, he starts to see the price. And he says, we're going to do the biggest funeral. Biggie's going to have to pay for this funeral. A funeral be a recoupable charge to Biggie in death.
What? Oh, he's so evil, bro. So the money that would go to his kids or his wife or his family or whoever Biggie was responsible to, instead, Diddy's going to charge Biggie for his own funeral instead of paying for the funeral. Man, all these men are really the same.
Feel his loss. I just miss him so much.
Sean doing a big show looks good on him.
The whole hood was outside. If you could make it there, you was there.
He's probably one of the only people I have really trusted.
It's weird. When Diddy talks, he says nice things. Biggie didn't want to hurt anybody. He just wanted to be a superstar. He's the one man I could trust. He really is such an actor.
Biggie had an opportunity to be on the cover of Rolling Stone, and Sean called me and said, pull that cover. I need to be on the cover.
Apparently, Biggie was going to be on the cover of Rolling Stone, and Diddy said, pull it. I need to be on that cover because my album's coming out. What?
We acquiesced and gave him everything he wanted, and then he died.
Can't believe you ain't here.
Wow, so he's saying at the time Biggie was renegotiating his contract and he had won. They had given him everything he wanted, and then he died. Almost like Diddy was like, yeah, I'll give you everything you want. And then the consequence for asking me for anything extra is death.
Sean wanted me to change the agreement to more favorable terms for Bad Boy.
Oh, damn, bro.
And his family and mother would not know.
Oh, that same family that Diddy swore he would take care of like they were his own?
And I said, that's not right. I'm not doing it. 90 days later, I'm fired.
Damn, I was wondering how he got fired. I was wondering what it would take for him. I wondered if he would be fired. Damn, bro. So because he wouldn't fuck Biggie over in death, Diddy said, fine, fuck you too, fired. What an evil piece of shit, bro.
It's like I feel empty inside without you being here.
Then he writes this romance to Biggie. He acts like you were my everything. This is evil. This is so philosophically evil. Wow.
It was like a dream come true. See the lines like in front of the stores, like people going there to get my record. It's crazy.
It all happened pretty quickly for you, from being an intern to being on the cover.
On the cover of Rolling Stone. So basically, it's Diddy's come up. He was finally featured on TV. He was finally given his moment in the spotlight. And now the story is Diddy rose to fame. He's on the cover of Rolling Stone. Yeah, I think my parents were so good to protect me from Hollywood and to protect me from stardom. Because I think growing up in Southern California, you definitely thought about it or had opportunities, or I knew friends who were in stuff. And I, even as an adult and as I get older, I stay away from it. Even on YouTube, guys, even on YouTube, the more and more I see what happens behind the scenes, the more and more I say, no, thank you. Not for me, girls. And I know the money is tempting and I know the fame is tempting. And you think you're the exception and you can do it without getting, but
It's a pattern with him.
Oh, this is Aubrey O'Day. Okay, violence was very normalized part of living in that world. Exactly. It was very normalized. It's really sad. I'm devastated for everybody who was a victim in this case. And everyone who's told, you're crazy, this is an opportunity, how could you not take it? Which is exactly what happens in these bubbles, by the way. The victims are told, you're crazy, just put up with it for a few years, you'll walk away with millions.
Diddy abusing Cassie and that they encouraged Cassie to get away from him.
Everything in life,
Damn.
You're gonna have people that are bad and people that are good, you know? You have to choose your side.
Oh my God. That is so scary, bro. That is so scary. The way he's approaching. Jesus. It says, no police investigation ever named Sean Combs as a suspect or person of interest in Tupac's Quad Studio shooting. He has consistently denied any involvement. I guess we'll come back for part 3 and 4. Yeah, I do not envy these people. I do not want this life. I do not want fame and fortune if this is what it means. And that's the problem. Like, you know, in other bubbles, you'll talk about like becoming a landlord and making money off people. But it's the same idea. Are you becoming a landlord in order to charge people 3 times the amount of like rent just to get as much as possible? Or are you becoming a landlord because you want to like decently make money by charging a normal price for rent and you're good to your tenants? It's like, I don't want to become rich and famous and quote good at capitalism if it has to come at the expense of so many people. And the reality is that it does. But doesn't Diddy remind you of those like very evil kings in history you hear about, like these very evil men who want it their way and they want to do whatever it takes to get whatever they want? That's what he reminds me of. It's just giving like, I chopped off my 8 wives' heads or 6 wives' heads or whatever, and I need the Catholic Church to change the rules so I can get divorced. You know? All right. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching and liking, and I will see you guys for the next one. Bye.